You're now listening to Directing Magic with your host, Marquette Jones.
So we are rolling. So hi, this is the Directing Magic podcast where I get to talk to other female filmmakers in the business of making movies. And today we have Rachel Goldberg, who is a fabulous up-and-coming, well-listed film director. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm really, really thrilled to talk to you. You have so many things that I want to ask you about, and so many cool projects and people that you work with and all that good stuff. So just to give a little bit of background about you, can you tell people the projects or the films that you've directed before?
Sure. I've been directing for a long time, but my most recent projects are a film called Neighbors that I made through Ep5's Directing Workshop for Women. Mm-hmm. And we've developed that into a feature called Transformation Awaits. So the screenplay has had a lot of nice attention, and we've teamed up with a production company, Rhode Entertainment, to produce it.
I'm sorry, what was the name of the place again?
Oh, Rhode Entertainment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I did a short called Rosita Lopez for President through Film Independent's Project Involved, so that was fun. And my most recent film is a short called Muted that we sold to HBO. And then I'm currently involved in about 3 or 4 different feature films in various stages of financing. So that's the most recent stuff. There's stuff going way back, but that's the most recent.
Fabulous, fabulous. How about back in the beginning, how did you know that you wanted to be a filmmaker?
So I don't know how detailed you want me to get.
The 5-minute version.
The 5-minute version. It's kind of a crazy story. So, came up doing theater, loved acting, loved playwriting, and was doing like a lot of choreography and things of that sort. When I got to college, I was a theater major and was very involved with an experimental theater group on my college campus. And
what
one
school
day,
were you at?
I was at University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And one day a professor stopped me that I didn't know. I was actually undeclared. I hadn't declared my theater major yet. And he was like, "You're Rachel Goldberg. I've heard about you. You're going to be a theater major and you're going to take the directing track." And I was like, who is this man and why is he telling me this? But if he believes in me, and I don't even know who he is, awesome. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up leaving the school. So he like sort of set me on this path and then just disappeared. So I was working as a director and a playwright, and I loved it. But my theater work was very visual and very spectacle-based. I was influenced by, people like Rotowski and Artaud and Brecht and Breaking the Fourth Wall and very confrontational political theater. And I had, at the same time, I was taking classes in photography that I loved. But Penn is a very academic institution, and at the time, they didn't really have like a practical film program. They had film studies where you could do film theory, but they had one Super 8 class that I took and loved. And a good friend of mine said, looking at my work, he was like, "You should really look into film. Like, your work is very cinematic. Like, have you thought about that?" And I was like, "Oh, interesting." And then Cal Arts was the only school in the country at the time who had an interdisciplinary degree in directing for both film and theater. So I went there, only to find out there wasn't much theater. And although I had a wonderful, incredible theater mentor, Deborah Levine, who's also a filmmaker, but it was at Cal Arts that I sort of fell in love with film and then started that path. That's a long story.
Oh, you kept it under 2 minutes. Good job.
All right, excellent.
So when you speak about this professor that kind of anointed you or whatever, kind of put the vibe in there. I mean, how do you remember his name?
I think his name was Ed Eisner, but I'm not 100% sure.
Like the actor?
No, not the actor. Not the actor. Spelled differently. I think it was spelled like Isner, I think. But yeah, and I think he moved to Rhode Island. I don't remember his name at all, but that's like the name that's in my head. But yeah.
So in terms of your more current projects that you've worked on, so Neighbors, which is something that you did with the women's workshop, right?
Yeah, Ep5's Directing Workshop for Women.
Mm-hmm. And what was that experience like working through the workshop program at Ep5?
It was incredible. That I really look as, that's why I don't speak that much about the work prior to Neighbors, even though I've done a ton of productions prior to that. But I feel like that was really the turning point in my career. CalArts was incredible, and I learned so much and met all of my collaborators, and my mentors there are still my mentors today. But CalArts is very experimental, and even though my program was narrative, we weren't really learning, like we obviously learned, you know, film grammar and editing and screenwriting and acting and how to break down a script and all that great stuff. But we didn't get lessons in visual storytelling and visual art. There wasn't much of a cinematography component to it. And there also wasn't really this idea of like working within a studio system. So it was very guerrilla. And AFI is different. AFI is like, you follow the studio system, you got your 12-hour days. That being said, so many of the lessons were exactly the same as what I had gotten at CalArts, but the things that were different was a lecture by Bruce Block that was incredible, which was about how you, like, just visual storytelling, which just blew my mind. And just getting a 3-week intensive repeat of everything that I'd studied at CalArts was incredible. But even more than that were the other women and just the infrastructure and support and validation that the DWW gave me as a filmmaker. I was able to attract a different caliber of talent, both behind and in front of the camera, just by having the AFI DWW stamp, because it's such a prestigious program. So being able to just up my game tremendously.
I'm sorry to cut you off. It kind of got garbly there for a second. You were saying, and it sounded really important, what you were saying, like how they were being a part of that program helped you attract a different level of talent. Can you talk about that again?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So just having that validation of this program, it's very prestigious. They only take 8 women a year. And being in that program allowed me the first time to work with a casting director who helped me get an incredible cast: Kelly Garner, Eddie Gathegi, Sasha Rose, Danny Woodburn. They were all amazing. Magana Tova. So that was a gift. I got to work with Polly Morgan, who was finishing up her cinematography degree at AFI at the time and has gone on to do like 5 features that went to Sundance. And just the team that I worked with in general, a lot of them were people I'd worked with before, but I was just able to up my game in a very significant way. So it was definitely a turning point, I think, in my career. And the support that I still get through AFI's DWW is incredible. And that network of women, like all of those directors, all of us working together and supporting one another, it was definitely life-changing.
And what type of support were you getting from your peers within the program?
I mean, everything from story notes, getting feedback on stories when you're looking for locations, like if you want to bounce an idea off of somebody, if you need help finding cast, or just need somebody to vent to. Just having that support in general is huge. I
was just curious about that because I've gone to school for filmmaking. Everyone's like, oh, you should apply to that program. I'm like, but I have so many.
You should apply to the program, Marquette. It's a game changer. It really is. It's really, like I said, it's the validation. You know, that program really did change my life. And now it's Tessa Blake running it. Prior to that was Patty West. When I was there, it was Joe Patrica. And they're all incredible. And Chris Schwartz was there. I think he's still helping out. They're amazing. Like, it really did change my life. You should 100% do it.
Okay. 100%. Okay. And I missed the deadline. That's awesome. Got it.
Next year.
So you spoke about the incredible actors that you work with, and I saw that Eddie Gathegi was one of your actors for Neighbors.
Yeah, Eddie Gathegi.
He, most people, I guess, would know him from the Twilight series.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Which is awesome. Fantastic. I know him from New York. And so I was just like...
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, we went to school like at the same time, different departments. And I was just like, wow, like that dude just blew up. Well, but he's a fantastic actor. So I'm really happy for him. And I was just wondering, like, what was the experience like working with him in particular?
He's incredible. It was a very, very scary role for him. And so he really took it super seriously and gave 110% of himself. I don't know if you've seen the film, but his performance is brilliant. Like, he's So is Kelly's. He's just such a phenomenal talent, and he's a chameleon. I mean, he's been in a gazillion things, from like X-Men, Gone Baby Gone. He's in a series now called Startup on Crackle, but he's also on The Blacklist and The Blacklist spinoff and House. And I feel like when you say his name, most people don't recognize the name, but I think it's because he's a chameleon. Like when you see his face, you're like, oh my God, yes, I know that actor. He's brilliant. But he's such a chameleon. Like he just transforms for every role. So it was a gift working with him. And, you know, he would like to try different things, and we would get a take that I was like, perfect. And like, wait, let me try it again. And then I would do it again so he could play. And everything he did was fantastic. So it was super fun.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And is he on board to do the feature version of Neighbors as well?
Yes. Yeah.
And again, that's called Transformation Awaits.
Yep.
So
Transformation awaits.
Perfect time to plug it.
Yeah.
So where are you with the process of getting that film on the screen?
So we were supported through Film Independent Screenwriting Lab, which was awesome, and the Sundance Financing Initiative, which was also awesome, and won a grand prize in screenwriting from the Rhode Island Film Festival, and we're a quarterfinalist for Nicholl. So we're currently a finalist for Cinestory. So all of that has attracted a lot of wonderful people to the project. So Triangle Road Entertainment, they've done 3 or 4 features prior to this, primarily genre. So this is a little bit different for them and a bigger budget. We're currently at if I would say to do it the way we at the bare minimum is like a 1.2, but we do have like a $750K budget that's super hard.
Really?
Yeah, because they're 3 company moves a day, really, really ambitious at $750K, but we've raised about $600. So that's why we were trying to get it down. Because if we can find a way to make it work at that, awesome. But recently we got a new producer on board as well. Her name is Meredith Littis, and she was with DOS Films.
Sorry, her name again?
Meredith Littis.
Littis, got it. Mm-hmm.
And she was with DOS Films. They did November Man with Pierce Brosnan, and they normally work in the 35 million space. So she's helping us with financing. So it's awesome having her on board because we might be able to get it back up to that 1.2, 1.5, where I think it's an easier film than that $750K. That'll be really hard.
How long is your schedule for both price points?
Right now, it's we have between 21 and 24 days. Yeah, but it's a period piece. It's a road trip movie. There's a lot of VFX. There's a ton of locations. There's a lot of extras. We did not write a cheap movie. We knew better, but we didn't write a cheap movie.
Who is we?
My co-writer, Jonathan Pope Evans. Okay. He's brilliant and amazing. The Neighbors was based on a story that he had written, and then he was kind enough to give it to me and let me sort of make it my own. So we collaborated on the short that I shot, and then collaborated on the feature screenplay.
And how was that working with a co-writer? What's your process for working with a co-writer?
It's different. I have a couple of different co-writers. With Jonathan, it's really easy because I pretty much say we're the same person, except that I'm a half Persian Jew and he's a Christian white gay Southern man. So other than that, we're the exact same person.
only, yeah, okay.
So it's really, really, really easy collaborating with him. We think very much the same. So we talked a lot about what the story arc would be for the feature version and how we wanted to get there. And then we took turns writing scenes, and then we just sort of passed it back and forth to each other. So when I would reach a point where I was I'm going to kill myself, I can't look at this anymore, he would take over, and vice versa. And then, he creates such wonderful, crazy, fantastic characters. And so it's really fun. You can, when you read the feature, LeMay is definitely his voice, Maggie is definitely my voice. So it's fun. We each sort of we write for both characters, but then we go through and he'll do a pass and clean up LeMay's dialogue, and I'll do a pass and clean up Maggie's, so that the voices are consistent. But yeah, it's super fun. It's just going back and forth and trying not to.
How long have you guys been working on it? The feature? We've
been working on it a really long time. So yeah, we probably did something ridiculous, 100 drafts. I'm exaggerating, but there were a lot of drafts.
Awesome. So you only need 150,000 more to say yes, to say go. We're shooting a movie. You're so close.
We're close. Yeah, it's been a long, crazy road, but we're close.
Looking back, and you think of anything you could have, in retrospect, obviously hindsight is 2020. But is there anything you feel like you wish you had known at the beginning of the process that would have helped?
I mean, I think we knew and we chose to ignore it. Like, we knew that if we wrote something that was like one location, 2 or 3 characters, no VFX, like contemporary, that it'd be much, much easier, and we probably would have shot by now. Mm-hmm. But I think after doing the short, which was so claustrophobic, we both just didn't want to live locked in that space for 2 hours. We wanted to open it up. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so are you into kind of like pop culture stuff?
Depends on what you mean.
Well, because like one of the things that's floating around the internet right now is Jill Soloway's keynote for Toronto. Did you see that?
I didn't see the Toronto. She spoke at the DWW and gave like the most incredible speech ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I my mind is still blown. I'm like, wow. Like, even the way that she broke down, just to backtrack and give context. So, Jill Soloway is the creator of Transparent, and, she's been doing some talks around the idea of the female gaze, one of which I guess was at DWW, and then the one that I saw was at the Toronto Film Festival recently. You could Google it, Jill Soloway keynote. It's amazing. Don't miss it. Okay, so one of the things that she talked about is this idea of the male gaze. And I felt it was interesting because she broke it down like so thoroughly. I'm like, yep, that's it. But if you had asked me, well, what is the male gaze before? I don't know that I would have been able to succinctly say. I still probably couldn't succinctly say because it's so ingrained in so much of what we see. But I was just curious if you had any thoughts about either the male gaze or the female gaze.
I didn't hear that particular speech, but I do think, the speech that she gave at the DWW was so incredible because she was saying that, just from a directing standpoint, it's very masculine the way that you approach it, right? With like action, the cut, right? And that we are sort of chastised as women that we wouldn't make great film directors because we're too emotional. And she was so fantastic. She's like, what is film if not emotion? Like the whole thing is trying to elicit emotion out of your audience and out of your actors. And so who is better qualified than women if we are emotional? Mm-hmm. So just this fantastic speech. Mm-hmm. I do think there's definitely a male gaze that objectifies women and forgets that we are more than just like sex objects. Not all men, though, right?
Different roles that we play, mom, daughter, girlfriend.
Exactly. But not all men. A lot of men can write beautiful 3-dimensional women as well, mm-hmm. and can direct beautiful, 3-dimensional women. So I think the real discussion is just that there has to be room for everybody's voice, rather than saying, well, this group is wrong and this group is right, or that there should be a male gaze, but there should also be a female gaze, and then there should be everything in between. Mm-hmm. And, there's tons and tons of stories, and there's audiences for every story. So,
and do you think that there's such a thing as a female gaze?
There are all sorts of theories of like I said, I try not to think about it too much in terms of like gender. I just think of it in terms of like good storytelling and like honesty and 3-dimensionality. But, people say that women are much more circular, that women definitely see things more emotionally.
What do you mean by circular? I've not heard that one before.
That the storytelling is more circular rather than a linear narrative, that when women are left to their own devices, things actually come more full circle. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. I think there are definitely stories that support that. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think a good story is a good story. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then what about in terms of directing style? Do you see... I know we're speaking in generalities or whatever, and it's totally fine to say everyone's an individual. But I'm just curious if you have noticed any differences in the way that women approach directing versus the men that you may have seen be directors.
I see different directing styles that I don't think are broken down by gender. And I'm sure there are people who would disagree with me, but I have friends who are men and women who really love working with actors, and that's how they approach it. It's all about performance. And then I know men and women who are incredibly visual, and they think very much in terms of the shot, and the actors are more like puppets that just need to be placed, and they'd rather not talk to them at all.
No comment.
And then there are people who do both, and there are people who are really drawn to moving camera, and people who are more drawn to static, and people who are drawn, like this idea. I know just as many women who love like action, horror, thriller as I do men, and so this idea that like women can only do one genre and men should only do one genre, like I just don't subscribe to any of that. I sort of feel like I'm in the middle of something.
$1 million.
Okay, but I'm busy right now. That's okay. Thank you.
I only know how to act really good.
So, anyway, that's...
random.
Yeah. Totally random. Okay. Don't know what that was about, but okay.
Okay, so what is your style? Which way do you prefer?
I'm definitely drawn to character-driven work. I definitely love working with actors, but I do consider myself pretty visual. I haven't gotten, at this point, I don't think, to do the visual work I'm really drawn to because I haven't had the budgets. But I do see things in pictures. I definitely see things in pictures, but I'd say my absolute favorite thing really is working with actors. I just love it. It's so much fun. I just love collaborating in general. So even with like my DPs or my production designers, like I approach it from a story point of view. So, rather than like this location will look cool, it's like, well, story-wise, what would this location be? Why would they be there? What state would it be in? But I love collaborating with my team and sort of giving them the freedom to do that. And it's the same with the actors. Like I know what I want in a scene out of an actor, but they always discover and bring the things that I would never think of. So I just like the collaboration aspect of it in general. But definitely I consider myself somebody who's really loves working with actors, but I'm also drawn to the visual.
And what about when you said you haven't had the budget to do the type of visual stuff that you would like? Is there a dream project that you would like to do that would?
Yeah, transformation awaits. That has a lot of VFX and
okay.
I'm like Pan's Labyrinth is one of my favorites.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying.
Like just that level of like production, like Tim Burton's films, like just that level of production design and costume design and cinematography that like you can't really, you can be creative, but
no.
Yeah.
I actually saw a short film at Holly Shores that was very Pan's Labyrinth-esque. And I just, not that it wasn't cool. It was actually cool, but I just think people should have budgets to do the things that they really want to do, as opposed to making a ton of compromise around the visuals. Anyway, sorry, total sidebar there. But yeah, okay. So I understand exactly what you mean now when you give those examples. So what about, have you seen this whole phenomenon of people making something that's used to be all guys, now all women? So like
Ghostbusters?
Yeah, like the Ghostbusters, which I really enjoyed. So this is no shade on the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But just today I saw them saying they were going to redo Hawaii 5-0.
Yeah.
With all women. And I was just like, too far.
You think so? I don't know if I saw the original. I saw it a little bit when I was growing up, but I just feel like I don't know why it matters to me, because like you said, like who even remembers who was in Hawaii 5-0? But there's just I'm just like,
I used to get into debates with people about like, redoing these things with women as the lead. Like I basically was saying I'm all for it. And then other people were saying, no, we should have original content, blah, blah, blah. I'm tired of this. I'm bored with it already. And then my argument was, well, I mean, like, until they decide to do original stuff, they meaning Hollywood, studios or whatever, I would prefer that we have options that have women in the lead, even if the content is a little reductive. But now that they're doing Hawaii 5-0, I'm like, oh, this is where we're going.
Yeah. I mean, I think I definitely subscribe to the camp of like, it would be great to see new content, but I totally understand the studio system being scared of losing money. Like people aren't going to the movies as much anymore. Like we do have like Netflix and Amazon and all of these new media platforms, and people are consuming content in a completely different way. And so it's hard to get people to go to the theater. And if you're I understand like feeling like you need to bank off of an already popular franchise. And it's interesting like seeing the films from when we were kids resurrected, because it's like, oh, they're trying to get us back in there. Mm-hmm. But then also, like the next generation. So it's interesting. I mean, I don't mind the gender swapping. I think it's fun. I enjoyed Ghostbusters. I think it could have been a lot better, but I don't think that's because they cast all women.
No, yeah. Hey, amen.
I think the script did some help, but that wasn't the actor's fault. So, yeah.
If you had to pick something that was a favorite of yours as a kid and make it an all-women project, which one would you pick?
Oh, that's really interesting. I don't know. It's hard because it's like so iconic. Like I loved Back to the Future. I don't know. What would Back to the Future with a girl look like? I mean, I think it would have to be a completely different story, but it'd be fun, I guess, to see a woman play with that time warping, time jumping plot. But it's just so iconic. So, like, I hear you. It's like, why even touch something that was so fantastic just the way it was? Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
Back to the Future with a girl. I like it. I don't know who I would cast in that, but yeah.
I know.
Really, the Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If she could pull it off, it would be an interesting story. That would be a contemporary Back to the Future that suddenly, like, a mature audiences R-rated.
Okay, so the other cool thing that's going on with you is that you're a part of the Fox Directors Fellowship.
Yeah.
Have you started that yet?
Yeah, we started this summer. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. So I was very grateful to be a part of it.
What is the framework for it? Like, what are you guys doing?
So I think there were 20 of us that were accepted into the program, and it was a very intimate group. We were there probably 3 or 4 days a week for about a month, and Gina Reyes, who runs the program, would bring in showrunners, network execs, studio execs to talk to us. But it was really intimate. It wasn't just like sitting and like listening to people on a panel. I felt like the level of access and honesty that the guests brought was pretty incredible, and we were allowed to ask anything. It was very much a safe space with like phone silent. So it was incredible, and it really felt like the people who were coming to meet us were very vested in getting to know us as filmmakers and working with us as filmmakers. And then the women, the men and the women in the program, like the caliber of talent that I was surrounded with was just phenomenal. So it was just such a gift to be among them. It was wonderful. And so through that program, that was the first month. And then I think all of us are going to be shadowing on something, but a lot of us came in with episodes. I wasn't one of them, but there were people who had been there who had already been directing or who were about to direct. But they're still shadowing so that they can get opportunities on those shows. So I'll be shadowing on Homeland soon, which I'm very excited about.
Yes. That's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible.
And when you shadow on something like Homeland, how long is the time commitment?
They were very, very generous. So it's about, I think, 3.5 weeks because they invited those of us that are shadowing to come all the way from prep to post. So not just the shoot. Nice. So that we can really experience the entire process.
And do you know who your director is that you're going to shadow?
Yes, Tucker Gates. So I'm very excited. He's got like 80 episodes under his belt. Wow. I think he's an EP on Hotel. So I'm very excited to shadow him.
Sweet. Yeah. Okay, so now the end of the show question is, what are you excited about right now?
What am I excited about right now? In the world of film or in life in general?
Both. First the film world and then life in general.
I'm really excited for Hillary Clinton to win. That's what I'm excited about right now. Wow. Female president on the horizon after a black president. It's exciting, and it will be terrifying if that is not the outcome. So that's what I'm excited about right now. In the world of film, I'm really excited because I feel like we are on the brink of change in terms of representation for women and minorities. I mean, I'm sure you've been working in this space for a really long time, and I've been working in this space for a really long time, and I really feel like this month alone I have 4 friends who are incredibly talented female directors who all just got their first episodes of TV. So I just feel like there's a push that's happening, like we're about to go over the tipping point and that there will be real change. I mean, obviously these things take time and it's a conversation that's been happening for decades, but I just feel like right now we really are about to see some serious change. I mean, Queen Sugar, for crying out loud,
yes.
You know, and like
all female directing.
She gave opportunities to them. Yeah, and what Ryan Murphy's doing with the Half Foundation, and like just incredible, amazing, wonderful, fantastic people causing amazing change.
And how about outside of, are you reading anything or watching anything that you like? Can you hear me?
I have been watching stuff from meetings. So anytime I have a meeting coming up, I'm like, okay, I have so much content to catch up on. But I'd say right now, I like Mr. Robot.
Sweet.
I really like Bloodline. Although the second season kind of went off the rails for me.
Bloodline. Okay, yeah.
I'm loving American Horror Story and Scream Queens, yes. And I cannot wait for Feud. Like, cannot wait for Feud. And super excited for Katrina, American Crime Story Katrina. What else? I'm loving Baskets on FX. I just recently discovered that and didn't even know it existed. And Fargo, I'm a big fan of. And I just finished Night Of. That was awesome. Queen Sugar, I'm super excited. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. I've been like binging a lot.
And I'm like, dang, I haven't seen 80% of those.
Yeah. It's hard. Like, there's so much content. So,
what about movies, though?
I'm way behind. So let's see. What have I seen recently?
Well, what would you like to see soon?
That's a good question, too. I have a lot of friends' films on my queue that I haven't watched yet, so I'm not going to name them because I don't want to get in trouble and out myself.
Fair enough.
But there's a lot of friends' films I need to watch.
That is too funny because, that's a rabbit hole. We won't do that. So we will not talk about movies because I don't want to get you in trouble.
I'm trying to even think like what I've seen recently, but I've just been binging on TV content because I've been sort of thrown into that world recently, which is great.
I think that's it.
Awesome.
Do you want to tell folks how to find your work, how to support your work?
Sure. So I think Transformation Awaits. I think our website is transformationawaitsfilm.com. And we also have neighborsthefilm.com. Rosita's boatrosita.com. And if you just look up Rachel Goldberg, filmmaker, you can probably find me on Facebook and all that good stuff. So,
actually, I had one last quick question for you. Why the change from Neighbors to Transformation Awaits?
just because it was getting confusing. The feature was called Neighbors, but then we were trying to differentiate when we were talking which piece we were talking about. It was very confusing. Nobody likes the title Transformation Awaits. I like it, but nobody else likes it. So it's our working title for right now.
I'm glad I asked, because that totally makes sense.
Yeah. It was Neighbors for a while, but then everyone was so confused. They never know if we were talking about the short film or the feature script or...
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for your time.
And then there's the film that came out.
What? Yeah, right?
Thank you, Marquette. You are awesome. I'm really great. What was that?
Oh, I'm just agreeing with you about the other Neighbors movie.
Right. That came out, so it's like, yeah.
That's done. We're done with that title.
Right. Yeah.
But thank you again for sharing your afternoon with me and with us. And that's it.
All right. Awesome. Woohoo.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye. All right. Okay. So that was Directing Magic Podcast with Rachel Goldberg. I'm really thankful that she came on the show and let us know all the good stuff that she's working on and giving us the inside story on some of these programs that we hear so much about. I also want to just say that what we do is important. Telling stories, changing people's minds, creating empathy for people who may or may not seem like us on the outside is something that we have to continue to do, as evidenced by the recent election and all of the stuff that's going on afterwards. You are valuable. Your stories are wonderful. They need to be told. Keep doing that. And until the next time, I really hope that you're doing something you're excited about. Peace.
You've been listening to Directing Magic with Marquette Jones. Be sure to visit directingmagic.com for past episodes and other information relating to the show. Also, be sure to subscribe and rate and comment on iTunes. Until next time, bye-bye.